Welcome to Tales from the Flipside. We have another episode of Deal or Flipside. I still need to work on that intro. But thank you everyone for joining us. Let's go ahead and introduce the panel that we have today.
All right, this is Red Hood. It's your favorite neighborhood comic presser. Glad to be here. What's up, Rob? Rob's Comics. What's going on, baby?
Konnichiwa. I would finish it, but I'm gonna leave that to Wu Tang to finish that off. Rob's Comics 81 on Whatnot and IG. I ain't started nothing on YouTube yet. I just kind of kick it with you guys.
Cool. All right.
What's up, Sean? Down here at Big Leg. I do Whatnot. Going to go on pretty much right after the show. Got a giveaway tonight of a 1 of 500 variant, and some other cool variants that people can't really get too much of. Going right here. These will be going on tonight.
Hell yeah, I'll be on.
Yeah, 1 of 500 and stuff like that. She Venoms. So we got it's mostly Venom based tonight. Probably 25 out of 35 or 40 are Venom with the giveaway, the 1 of 500, which is like at least a few $100 book. So that's me.
Nice.
Cool.
Got some heat.
And
It's Chris Colbert, a.k.a. The Profiteer, a.k.a. Dirty Flipper, a.k.a. your speculator's favorite speculator. You can catch me here every night. Every night they'll allow me to come on to a show, but typically Wednesdays and Thursdays. Colbert's Comics on eBay. And also, I want to give a big shout out to the boys at Shortbox, Gene and BJ. Thank you guys for listening to me talk about comics at Rose City. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to touch base with you guys when I was in San Fran, but definitely a great app, and I just want to shout them out and support them because they're cool people. So, and they don't pay me to do this, but hopefully they will one day. So,
Cut the checks.
It's all of our dreams, right?
Yeah, and then I'm Aaron. You can catch me also on Comic Book Food Chain. We've actually revamped the show. I have a new format. It's a lot of fun. And I want to give a shout out to Enrique, who I met at Dallas Fan Expo, for being the first person to recognize me in public, just wandering a con. And I believe he works at Collected Comics out in Dallas. So if you're out there, stop by the shop. And then you can catch me on Whatnot on Sunday nights.
Hey, was he excited when he saw you, bro?
Yeah,
go,
like it was.
Shit, it's Aaron Yee, bro.
He's like, hey, aren't you Yeezy? I was like, yeah. And then,
Dude,
like, because
that's awesome, bro.
At first I thought he was like, are you Jay-Z? And I was like, what are you talking about? But big shout out to him because I had mask on and everything, and then he recognized me still. But I think it was the new glasses is what gave up the tip. So all right.
Awesome, dude.
Yep. So I want to give a shout out to Obi the Gray for making, for remixing Frank's graphic design. And then all the panelists have signs. What we'll do is we'll compare two different books, and then I'll choose two panelists to discuss it, and then we'll open the floor for discussion. And a lot of these books tonight are brought to you by Rob's Comics. So we'll have a lot of foreign discussions going on, but I sprinkled in some books I picked at the end. So we'll see what the panel thinks and what the audience thinks. All right. So for our first set of books, we have Silver Surfer #4, the Australian comic Newton classic Thor cover, versus the Avengers #2, the Australian Jaffa. So Rob, if you want to fill in any other information for us, let us know, and then I'll vote instead. You're muted.
All right. So I realized I hit it twice. But first, let me give you a little tutorial on Newtons. Newtons is in Australia, as it says in the description, but these are special because at the top it says that thing that says free poster. A lot of times the posters are ripped out because it would be a classic cover that we all recognize, whether it would be Captain America 100, Black Panther #1, or it would be, like a Punisher cover or something like that, right? So these two books, these both had the posters in it. So when you see a poster, a complete copy, they'll go for 100 to about $300. A Daredevil one sold, I think, if you listed it, it went for almost $700 just because it had the poster. And these are in English, so this is the comp to not having the U.S. version. So for me, I'm a Captain America fan. It definitely would be the Avengers 2 because it's the Avengers 4, but the story inside is Avengers 2 is Avengers 4 as well. But in the Yaffa, it's literally a number 2. So the Yaffas are harder than the Newtons. So that would be my pick is the Modern Playbook.
Okay. So let's see what the rest of us think. And then Rob, if you want to choose the people that can discuss the books of why they make their choice, we'll do that for your picks.
Let's go with Red Hood and Chris.
Oh, we got to vote first. All right, so hold up your sign for which book you would pick.
All right. Let's go with Red Hood and Chris. You guys picked opposite sides. Let's go with them.
Cool.
All right, I'll pop it off. So again, not being the foreign dude, but going off of knowing each one of these stories respectively and the covers, I am a Silver Surfer 4 like Homer fanboy. I kicked myself. I bought that book, the American copy raw, and bought it raw. It graded out to a 9.4. I sold it for damn good money, but in hindsight, I wish I would have kept it because, you're not finding that at a 9.4 out in the wild like ever anymore. So I mean, like these are English versions of the American copies. These are probably, I mean, Rob, would you say that these kind of fall like one tier below, like a Penn's copy type of scenario?
Yes, I would say that. But the one thing about the Yaffas I forgot to mention that a lot of times those books are magazine size and they vary in sizes along the thing. I think Big Leg has. I sent him two. I sent him the digest size and the Yaffa. Like they both are like a TV guide size. And then the other one's like a huge magazine. So
okay. So that even more so plays a factor. I'm going with the magazine or the comic book size Silver Surfer 4. Final answer all day.
So, like, you got this iconic Avengers book, and it's yellow, dude. Like, that's pretty awesome, man. I mean, it's just, it kind of pops. I mean, I really like the way it looks with the yellow. I've got a few foreign books, but nothing like that go into the Silver Age, man. Like, I definitely like if I was really going to truly pick, I would need to like hold both of them and see them up close. I mean, that's where you really've got to be really look at maybe getting the best conditioned one. I mean, it looks like both of them sold at a similar price, and it looks like you got a better shipping deal from somebody in Australia at $14.47. But yeah, I mean, I just like the way that yellow looks. I mean, it's different. I mean, that Thor I mean the Silver Surfer 4. I mean, it looks like just like the regular cover. I mean,
and a small correction. I have a Newton here in my hands for an example, but as you can see, this modern comic right on top of it, you can see it's a little bit bigger. So this is a magazine size too. And this one has the poster and it's Black Panther on the inside of this one.
do you know what the posters are on these two books, Rob?
Oh, the Avengers 2 is Avengers 1 on the inside, and the Silver Surfer one is Silver Surfer 1, I believe, is on the inside of
Really
the Avengers, the Silver Surfer 4.
Wow.
And it's so hard to find a poster. It's like because you could think about a little kid just pulling it out, just like the Poison Ivy poster. Some kid would pull it out and just put it on the wall.
Show that Black Panther poster that you get in that I think it's that Yaffa, right? Or what is
Newton.
it?
Yeah.
Newton.
Live on there. I'm pulling out a fragile book. You can fill out this thing for the toys on the back.
That's pretty cool.
What was that? Planet of the Apes? What was that? Oh wow.
And on the inside, being careful because this is.
That's amazing.
Super cool.
That's
And
awesome, dude.
how often do you see him in that costume, right?
That's very true.
Yeah.
I was hoping it wasn't the Cobalt Tiger. I was like, please don't be Cobalt.
That's cool.
All right. Sean, do you care to add anything to
Honestly, just things being equal, looks like the price are the same because it's a yellow cover. It stands out to me, so I really like it, and that's it. I mean, I'll agree with the scarcity, everything everybody else said, but pretty much like Redhead said, it just sticks out to me that it's different, so that's why I was gonna pick it.
Yeah. I mean, I personally went with the Silver Surfer, just because it's definitely both of these. Don't get me wrong, are iconic covers, but there's just something about Silver Surfer that I've always enjoyed a little bit more than Captain America, to me personally. So it was more of a personal choice than anything, than instead of like flipping, because sometimes it's tough to get some of these like foreign books. But before we move on, let's see what the crowd thinks. So we had 63% choose the Silver Surfer 4, and I'm going to guess that the poll will tell us that 36% chose the Captain America, Avengers number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead and move on to our next set of books. So for our first book, we have Marvel Comics, Newton Comics, Australian Silver Surfer number 1 versus Newton Comics, the Incredible Hulk, and introducing Captain America. That's sold for $229. The Silver Surfer 1 sold for $325.64.
Yeah. So once again, same scenario. The poster for either one of these is tougher, but I know for a fact that this Incredible Hulk one, that one is scarce by any means, just because of it being Hulk number 1 and it's comparable to the UK pence. But it's a beast to find one.
That's pretty cool.
I was like, what was that?
I was like, all right.
Yeah. But
hey, what's going on, Ant?
Yeah, but that Hulk one is definitely a beast to find, especially with the poster complete, because the inside of that one is, I believe, Tales of Suspense 39, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. I wish Matt or somebody was here. I know they see this one more than I did, but I think it's Tales of Suspense 39 on the inside of Hulk. And the Silver Surfer, I think, is Thor.
So it's not actually introducing Captain America then?
No, the story is inside, but not the poster. The poster would be something random.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right, so let's let the panels decide. Which book are you picking up? Silver Surfer with the Flipside cassette, or the Modern Playbook for the Hulk? Hold up your signs in 3, 2, 1. And Rob, you can pick the people again.
All right. We go with Yeezy and Sean.
Want
to go ahead, Sean?
I mean, mostly, I like the colors again. we got Green Hulk. I like the frivolous use of pink there for everybody's pants. Oh, except that guy in the
that's right.
Back, double pink pants combo cover. It says free, so I don't know if they're giving away free pants, like it's a sort of play on words going on. You never know what the ads for inside the comic book. And yeah, that's just I think it's badass, sort of little psychedelic, maybe sort of blacklight for your kids' wall.
Listen, this book has nothing on X-Men 1. If Yeezy put it in here, I have that one in here. That one is bananas. So you think this is psychedelic? Wait till you see that one.
All right, good.
Yeah.
So yeah, and of course, and the reasons that that I heard before. But yeah, I'm basically going off pure cover, enjoy, and I always pick Hulk over Surfer.
Yeah, I mean, again, I like Surfer a little bit more still, and I feel like with that all black cover, it's probably pretty tough to get in a high grade. And I guess as what we're learning from here is that what really matters in these books is if it has the poster inside of it or not. And so I think that's the most important thing. And then honestly, like it's making me like gonna have to add a bunch of new eBay safe searches, like adding Newton Comics into just to see what pops up. So
Yeah.
What's that swap card? It says free swap card. What is that?
It's one of those subscription cards, like you get in a magazine, you pull it out to get the subscription. That's kind of what these. That's what that swap card is on the inside. A lot of times they would have a trading card on the back, but a lot of times they just stuck it in there. It wasn't a part of the book to begin with.
Got it.
All right, Chris or Red Hood?
Yeah, I mean, again, I chose the Silver Surfer just because a Hulk book, even coming out of Australia, is still a Hulk book, and yeah, I mean, Hulk 1 gets very little love from an American perspective, so I'm going with the Silver Surfer. I feel like more opportunities for flip and resell there than with the Hulk and Captain America reprint scenario.
Yeah.
I just the Silver Surfer cover just looks badass. I mean, I would want that, but once again, I mean, I would need to see him up close. I mean, now Sean's got me thinking about the pink pants thing. You know what I mean? Like that's a thing now.
Well, one thing I do like about both these covers is that like it's somewhat familiar to you, but then it's slightly different somewhere, where it's like kind of like, oh, I would notice this sticking out like differently than just seeing like the American version all the time.
It's kind of like a what if, dude.
Just to interrupt one more time. When it comes to like a lot of the ones we're familiar with, like the first Rogue, as you can see, this is Spanish, Vengadores, but it's still the same contents. It's just in Spanish. I mean, it's the same. They didn't even change the cover. It's literally the same.
Oh,
but
wow.
I mean, it's just the fact that this is larger than the normal one. Like you can see, it's still a shade bigger. But it's all about this. Me showing you foreigns is showing the collector side of you and not the flip side. That's kind of the point of this game. But it's like if you had a choice, you might not see these a second time. That's the hard part about foreigns. You only might see it once.
That's a good perspective to think about. Like
Yeah.
when you see these books pop up, like you really have to think about like what are you investing into? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next set of books. So we have the rare Incredible Hulk 181 Spanish version, La Masa, that sold for $480 at a CGC 4.0 versus a Batman Beyond foreign edition that sold for $499.95. Free shipping though.
Wow.
I'm voting already. See that?
You're voting early?
Right there. See that?
Yeah, yep.
Now, once again, the La Masa is a Spanish 4.0. You lucky to find this complete. The cover's detached normally because I'm going to give you a little history of it. The bag and board culture is something that we did out the break. A lot of times these books were stacked on the newsstand, no bag and boards, in the hot Mexican sun or wherever it is until once someone picks it up. A lot of times these things will have a little white spine ticks and color fade on the edges because it sits out and like you're looking down on the book, so it's like you only get the top half. A lot of times you'll get that white bar across the top, but someone has one of those in the 9.6. I don't want to put his name out there, but he has the highest graded. That book is worth more than the U.S. version, if you ask me. because you won't find a 9.6 like that again. That's a one-shot deal. You can look for a 181 US all day long. You can put on a toilet paper roll, and you only come across this one once. So that book is harder than most. Between that one and the White Suit Wolverine, which is another tough one too, which is what is it? Euro Spanish one with a white suit, and it's a flip image. Wolverine's on the right and Hulk's on the left. That one's equally as rare. High grade, you can forget it. Foreigns, you have to take that 9/8 mentality and just throw it over your right shoulder and just be like, all right, I got a copy. That's all you can do. But that Batman Beyond down the bottom, you want to think the Six Flags one is hard? You have nothing on that one. Good luck. That's all I could do.
I bet it's even harder to find than the third print. One question do you have about the La Mesa? Does it have a stamp? Does it have a stamp? MVS, the Marvel value stamp?
Yes, it does. It does have the value stamp, but they didn't cut it out because they didn't know what it was for. From what I've been told, they just left it in there, so there's no worry of the value stamp being cut out.
Okay. All right. So let's let the panel decide. Which book are you picking up? Hold up the Flipside logo for Hulk 181 or the Modern Playbook symbol for Batman Beyond. 3, 2, 1. All right, Rob, you pick.
Let's go with the Money Man Chris and Red Hood.
I think we both
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at you, Yeezy. You had it in front of your face. Sean, you had Flipside.
Yeah.
All right, so I'll pop it off. So, funny story, actually. I was in Mexico City, what was it, 2020, like sometime in the fall. Went to a comic shop. Shout out to Fantastical Comics in Mexico City. I saw a La Mesa in that shop, and damn good high grade. And I passed on it because I'm not a foreign dude. I didn't know what I was looking at. But I straight up was like, oh, that's cool. A Hulk 181 Mexican version. And I was like, yo, let me see that Marvel Spotlight 5 over there. Like, completely walked past the Mexican comics to look at, like, the American stuff that they had because everywhere I went, I was finding Mexican comics. So I was in Mexico City. But yeah, so because of my stupidity in passing up that book, maybe one day I'll get back down there, being on the West Coast now and see what can be had in Mexico City. But yeah, for that reason, I'm going with La Masa. I am a huge Wolverine fan. I should probably start making the rounds and collecting foreign versions of that comic just so I can have more of a collection of them. Batman Beyond is cool and probably is rare, but like, I don't know, like there's something about like running the gamut and like running the gauntlet and having every known copy of Hulk 181. That's something about that kind of excites me. And so, yeah, for that reason, I'm going with the La Masa.
Yeah, I went with the Batman Beyond. Like, it's tough enough already to try to find like a newsstand edition or even the third print, just because you never see those. And then if you do, like, you just happen to be kind of lucky, like, just in the right place at the right time, right? And then, actually, where is this from, Rob? The Batman Beyond? Do you know?
I believe that's Panini. I think it's German, if I'm not mistaken, from what I remember.
And I don't know. There's something about the paper quality that they use for like the Panini stuff, like that just excites me.
I believe that is a cardstock cover. That Batman Beyond.
A lot of them are super super thick and ultra glossy. So I don't know. I don't know if you still consider them necessarily. Yeah, I guess sort of cardstock with that, but I think they're just like real thick paper. So I think I just had a couple come through here from our friend from Germany, and yeah, but that's still not an easy press. So
yeah, and then if they don't actually exist, I mean, like where it's like nearly impossible to find here, like I don't know. I mean, I'm not. there's just something about 181 that just like that doesn't excite to see, makes me excited to see. But seeing something like a Batman Beyond, it's just like kind of like it's that nostalgia factor that's kicking in for me. I think just like growing up in that time period when this show was coming out.
Dude, I love the font of La Masa on that. It kind of like is 70s kind of like uh, kung fu kind of uh, kind of feel to it, and it just kind of I guess that was kind of the time back in the 70s, and it is just so different. Like I've pressed a German 181 foreign before, and I mean it looks just like the regular one, but yeah, man, that is
This is
just
the white suit one. This Euro Spanish.
damn, that's awesome, dude.
That's
And,
It's a white Wolverine, bro.
Yeah, it has a pretty hefty price too.
Holy
By all means,
shit.
go ahead.
Yeah, so
Is
Red
this-
Hood, I think what you're referencing when you talk about like that whole motif is like grindhouse, like
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah, Grindhouse. There you
yeah,
go.
like Mexicano, like grindhouse type of aesthetic to it.
That's
So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, that reminded me of like a Storm Shadow rain or something like that.
Yeah.
The one from Spain. All right. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. And it looks like we're about 50-50 on this.
Ooh,
The
I
audience?
like 50-50.
Yeah. All right. But let's go ahead and move on to our next set of books. So we have Fantastic Four #4, the Australian Newton Marvel with poster that sold for $461.69 versus the X-Men #1 Australian Newton Comics magazine size 1975 of Avengers. This sold for $477.61. Both shipping from Australia. Take it away, Rob.
First, I gotta say is, I know you see it, Sean. You look at the colors of Magneto. Does it even look like Magneto?
No. Not
Look
at all.
at Beast. He's green. Only person that's correct is Cyclops and Iceman.
Yeah.
And Doctor Doom. We're not even gonna talk about him. But anyway,
Dude, that looks dope, dude.
but this is my rabbit hole. This is my wheelhouse. Anybody that knows me thus far, it blows my mind every time I see it. It's like, not saying it's comparable to the US, but the story is in there and it's complete with the poster. Of course, it's going to warrant this $500. The next one might sell for $600 just because it's still in US. So, I mean, I think the poster on the inside is the X-Men versus Avengers issue. I think it's like number 9 or something like that. What is it? Yeah, I think it is. But that poster's on the inside of the X-Men and Avengers one. And the Doctor Doom is just Fantastic Four #1. So, as you can see, just from the bids alone, a lot of those people are in country trying to get their hands on it because we're buying them up. But I know somebody going after those pretty hard. But I was looking for a Fantastic Four Newton, and I came up with one with the cover missing, and I was like, the cover's kind of what drawing me to it, so I'm at the pass. But even that one sold for like $300 something because it had the poster inside. So it just lets you know you got to treat this like Golden Age. If you see it, you like it, you might as well just go ahead and buy it and just say, at least I have it, and not regret it later, because you too could be a millionaire maybe if you have the right one. But for me, I'm a Doctor Doom guy. The X-Men one's already at my price range to begin with, but when I started, I could have got my hands on that Doctor Doom early, but I am definitely with the Doctor Doom for me.
All right. Let's let the panel vote now. Hold up your signs. Fantastic Four for the Tails logo, and X-Men #1 for the Modern Playbook logo. 3, 2, 1.
All right. Who's that? Yeezy and Red Hood.
You want to go Yeezy?
Sure. So my grill has always been X-Men 1. So, to find out like some of these psychedelic, like trippy looking colors are out there for these foreign editions, like it's definitely going to be something that I'm going to chase after I mean, it's classic cover. It's a nice take on the art. And I mean, yeah, Magneto looks kind of weird with like green and yellow, looking like Loki or whatever. But I mean, why not?
Exactly.
Man, that Fantastic Four, that just looks badass, dude. Like Doctor Doom with the purple. I mean, he's killing it, dude. I mean, that just yeah, the colors pop, man. I mean, dude, I mean, I just and it's going to be all about Doom now, man. Like that book is so far out of reach now. I mean, it's crazy. I'm surprised Chris don't have like 4 or 5 copies, man. But but yeah, just it's all about, I guess, the twist on the artwork is what I'm seeing with like a lot of these foreigns that make you appreciate what they bring to the table. So I mean, it's just you can't go wrong with either one of these books. But like I'm leaning more towards Doctor Doom with the purple.
But I will add this to it too, just to give you a little history lesson on this too. You got to think this is pre-internet. This came out not too long after the U.S. edition, which probably by like a year or so. So when you think about it, they didn't have the color sets. They just gave them the straight up raw coloring, the raw outline and inks, and they said, "Hey, color it the best way you know how." There's Batman in some countries where he's pink.
Oh, that's
He's
funny.
green. He's yellow.
As it should be. As it should
So I
be.
mean, it's like sometimes the Joker's colored wrong. I have a Captain America Brazilian Golden Age where his skull is white and his suit is red. So I mean, they don't know the colors. They just doing it from the best way they know how. So it's like they're giving work to their countries, and this is the best they could do. They didn't know Beast was supposed to be blue. They didn't know Magneto was supposed to be purple and red. They made him green. They made him look like Loki, just like you said.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's even the background's wrong. It's supposed to be white, but it's blue. So it's literally just a funky. Somebody must have been on some kind of paraphernalia, LSD or whatever it is, and said, "You know what? I'm gonna color this the best way I know how." So that's
Man, they look at our books. Hey, they colored it wrong.
Chris or Sean, care to add anything?
I don't know. I picked X-Men just because generally I'm gonna pick X-Men, but I just like, and I'd probably still pick it, but it's really more like 60-40, 55-45. That hood and that golden yellow or whatever arm on Doom is just badass, and I love the red background. So honestly, I actually like the look of the Fantastic Four better, but I really couldn't skip the X-Men one on this one if I had to pick one. But I would say, let's say I wasn't it just wasn't a comic fan, and I just went with like appeal of the use of colors. I think I'd pick the Doctor Doom. But yeah, as an X-Men guy, just going with the X-Men.
And as somebody who has a couple X-Men ones, I'm going with the Fantastic Four just because I've only got one of those, and I don't know, like this, both of which kind of play to different parts of my brain nostalgia-wise. The X-Men one reminds me, if anybody remembers Mutant X, where Havoc gets knocked into another dimension where Beast experiments on himself, made himself dumb and green. That reminds me of that. The Fantastic Four, the coloration of Doom instantly made me think of the alternate color palettes for like Marvel vs. Capcom or something like that, where you didn't pick, you didn't hit heavy punch when you went to pick your character, and you got the version that was like the black and orange, or like the other random color combo that you get, or if you were a little brother, you always ended up with the player 2 version of a character, which was some weird color palette. So this kind of plays in nostalgia for me. So I'm loving the Doom. I just think that's a color combination that's super weird, and it's a comic that I only have one of the American version, so I'd love to have another copy of it, even if it's foreign.
All right. And the audience response was, after 16 votes, we had 68% choose the X-Men 1, and 31% chose Fantastic Four.
Not bad.
Let's go ahead and move on to our next set. All right, so we have the Amazing Spider-Man presents Black Cat #1 Bad Kitty J. Scott Campbell variant from Mexico that sold for $100 versus the Near Mint Spider-Man #1 German Euro variant Campbell. So I believe this sold for 103, but let me double check. And then I'll let you take it away, Rob.
All right. Before anybody makes a choice, don't click the button yet. Don't click the vote. Just hear me out. Mexico, like I said, I already told you guys about the bag and board. They were on a newsstand, however way they go. And just to show I'm not biased, I have both right here in the flesh, right? The one that stands out the most is the German, the one down the bottom, because they're numbered to 333. It's written in pen. You want to talk about print runs? Only 300 of these. This one, no idea. This isn't La Mole. This isn't none of that. You want to talk newsstand? There it is. You see it. Print run, unknown. But what I do know what this print run is. In the U.S., God knows how many. But for the sake of it, either one of them is still the art. I think only J. Scott Campbell signed the Mexican one, but I don't think he ever signed one of these because they're already hard to come by. This is a near mint copy. There's not a lot of dings on it, and this is a cardstock cover. This one's a regular Marvel paper to Mexico, but the German one's definitely cardstock, scrapes. It might be a spine roll on some, but this one's clean as all get out. So this one can't really be pressed. I'm looking at it now, but the German one's the one that you want to get your hands on just because of the print run.
And I looked it up, and it actually sold for the German one sold for $95 plus shipping.
Damn.
Yep. So let's let the panel decide. And for the Mexico version, hold up the Flipside logo. For the Modern Playbook symbol, hold up the or for the German version, hold up the Modern Playbook symbol. So 3, 2, 1.
Let's go with Sean Big Leg, and let's go with Red Hood.
I think everybody went with Deal for most part, except you, Rob.
I know.
Yeah.
I went with it says 9.8. I'll always pick 9.8. That's it.
I know that guy. He's normally spot on, but it's always the one thing that always the nightmares that I have as a foreign collector is always about shipping. It might not be the person shipping it, but how it's treated from there to here.
Yeah,
Probably read them.
Man,
custom.
I have horror stories of manila envelopes and the comic just thrown in the bag. Josh Allen will tell you he literally got an old school Avengers 1 from a Golden Age Australian in a manila envelope and tape. That's it. And it made it fine. So I mean it's a crapshoot. So
I
that
had a similar. Yeah, I had a similar one back like a. If you guys remember, comicspriceguide.com like a while ago.
Yeah,
you could sell on that, and this is probably 8 or 9 years ago, something like that. Maybe 10 years ago. But when Guardians of the Galaxy, all we knew is basically we're getting a movie. We didn't know which team. So I think it was Defenders. Was it Defenders 27 has a Guardians cover, and so we were trying to pick those up. Maybe that's Starhawk, and 26 has the Guardians cover. But anyway, so I ordered one from there, from some guy. I don't know who it was. I mean, it was whatever price, whatever. Wasn't expensive. I know that. Even shipping wasn't expensive. And I was like, "Where's this book? Where's it at?" And literally, the dude sent it from Australia in a manila envelope, no bag and board, with a cereal box cover in that manila envelope, cut the exact same size, and it was just fine. Like I feel it's funny. It's like, you know how the drunk guy in a car accident survives? unfortunately.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, I feel like that thing because it flopped around so much that it didn't get like it didn't have like the corners bashed in because they weren't sharp, and so it didn't sustain like the permanent damage. So it was kind of weird. But that was my first foreign comic. It was in a manila envelope with I don't know, this collectible cereal box top or something.
Nice. So since we're throwing out stories, I'll throw out one. When I first got back into comics, the first big purchase of like graded books that I did was a set of a complete 9.8 run of The Dark Knight Returns. So books 1 through 4 from Germany, and I was just like, man, let's see how this plays out. And homeboy, who I need to go back and look through my history and figure out who they were because I need to shout them out. They cut they took a box, figured out exactly like the dimensions of like the egg crate bone, and cut out a perfect in drop. Like this thing was like it was a Pelican briefcase. The perfect inset of all 4 books together in the center of this like bone crate thing that they created in the box. Like to this day, I still like cut pieces of that bone off because it was like their shipping. Like there's no way in hell they charged me for what it cost to get that thing here from Germany. I mean, I think they charged me like only $15 in shipping, and that box, like even with like international like standard flat rate, probably cost them $100 to ship easy. And everything arrived bulletproof, like safe and sound. I don't have those books anymore. Unfortunately, I sold them, but like that was the hands down one of the best packing jobs I've ever seen in my life. You could have dropped that thing from like above my head and it would have survived the landing.
Wow.
Yeah. DHL's my friend. That's all I got to say.
Well,
Yeah.
one thing I like about the German book is that the low print count, and then this book behind me, the Ji Hung Lee 1 in 100, I don't have that cover, and the only route I went was to get the German one, which is, I'm assuming it's the same printing company because they also handwrite the numbers on the back.
Yeah.
And one thing I do want to say is that CGC will not mark you for that as long as you let them know ahead of time that it's going to be on the back. So just write it somewhere on your
Slip.
fill out sheet. Yes,
Yeah.
somewhere on your slip.
Why? How come the Michael Turner Supergirl has almost all green labels then? Did they change their policy?
Yeah, they did. Because with the what Matt Nelson said, that with the foreign comics, he said a lot of times they're written on anyway, because they didn't really do the whole CGC verification thing. But if it remotely looks like a signature, they'll omit it just because of it being foreign. But a lot of times with that Turner, that was around the time where they was just figuring out, like, if it's marked on the book, they'll ding you anyway. But some people had blue labels because they let them know ahead of time, hey, all of them are written on, because they wrote the number, you'll get the blue label because it's not considered a signature in a sense.
Yeah, but even with signatures though, if you contact CGC, like either write on the form or contact them historically, and let them know that you will take a lower grade, like to get the blue label, they'll do that also. So like typically they'll either give you the higher grade in the green, or you can request the lower grade and the blue. So, and to take it into consideration as a defect, I'll take the defect.
All right. Let's see what the audience thinks. I think it's pretty close. I think it was like 56-44 or something like that.
What was the numbers?
There it goes. So 56% chose the German version, and 43 chose the Mexico version.
Still tight. I love it.
All right. So now we have Dolman number 16, the Adam Hughes Spanish version that sold for $249.99 versus a Action Comics 894 CGC 98 that sold for $219.
All right. So with this being said, I'm gonna give you a little story. Adam Hughes will not sign this cover, the Dolman 16, because he was never paid for that art. That's still in his sketchbook. I asked him that question. So, with that being said, don't bother trying to get it signed by him because he will reject it. That's
Yeah,
one of
but
those-
aren't you going to pay him to sign it?
He won't sign it because he didn't
Yeah,
get
but
paid for
like
that art.
he was crying about not getting paid for doing that art. You're about to pay him to do, like, if it's about money, then right?
And sounds like it's about the principle of it. If he's turning down a check, it sounds like it's about principle.
I'm giving you
I guess.
right from his mouth. That's what he said. But with this being said, there's a Wonder Woman book out there too that they use for another magazine that has his art on it that he won't sign. But it is a beautiful cover. It's sought after, even in high grade. It's a fellow friend of the group, Stephen Bridwell, in the Global Comics. I'm dropping your name. He sold a bunch of these because he got them. He got a bunch of them at one swing. I don't know if he still has any left, but he has them, and it's gorgeous. I had one, but I prefer that cover over the Action Comics one. I know it's
Hell
the US,
yeah.
but that Adam Hughes, you got me all. I'm sold already.
Dude.
All right. So for the Dolman number 16, hold up the Flipside logo. For the Action Comics, hold up the Modern Playbook. 3, 2, 1. Hold up your signs.
Let's go Colbert and Red Hood.
All right, I'll pop it off. So nothing against this. Isn't for me a foreign versus U.S. market book. It's all about the fact of what you just said about the story of the fact that Hughes didn't get paid for this artwork. By no means am I like super close with Adam Hughes, but I've met him a bunch of times. His LCS was my old LCS. He's good people. And so for that note, pay the man. Like him not profiting off this book, that's the sole reason why I'm choosing the alternative, because I'm not trying to support people not getting paid for their work. So Action Comics all day. And then also we'll play the whole angle of she's coming in, she'll be here in Sandman. They may reuse her in other DC properties. I mean, they may use the more comic accurate version of her because, again, Netflix is doing the Sandman, which means that they could potentially reuse her in her more comic accurate form in other DC properties. She's a fan favorite. She's my girlfriend, one of her favorite comic book characters. It's what got her into reading comics. So I'm going with Action Comics, $8.94 all day.
Okay, so here's my take on it. Like, you're mad that you didn't get paid for that book. Somebody will pay you to redo that book and then put an American title on it. Like, can we start? can we put that in motion? Like, my God, dude! Like, that artwork is amazing. It's just amazing. And you look at the anorexic cover on the bottom right there. I mean, like, she needs to eat something, man. But the artwork at the top, it is just, it's stunning. It's stunning. I mean, it's just, I mean, I would feel bad. Okay, like he didn't get paid for it, and I'm kind of like in the camp with you, Chris. I mean, I don't agree with artists and writers not getting compensated for their hard work. But as a collector, geez, man, like, you drew it, they made them. Like, I mean, I would want to, like, collect it. I mean, I would want it. But, like, if what floors me, if that's such a stunning cover, why can't they just redo it? You know? I mean, who knows? Maybe he's so mad that he won't even do it again, you know?
Yeah, especially not in that position.
Yeah. Well, I like the color palette on the Dolman, actually. It kind of reminds me of like a Bartel, Jim Bartel kind of coloring.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What year was it? Was it the same year?
19. I want to say 96 because the year is right below the pi symbol. It's just below.
Wow.
I want to say 97. I want to say.
Yeah, it's 97.
Okay.
All right, let's go ahead and end the poll and see where we're at. It looks like we're at a 50-50 split.
Oh, I love it. I'm making you guys work. Like,
I know, right? All right. So I'm gonna mix it up a bit. I threw in some books for comparison that I thought were kind of interesting. I was just putting in prices, and these two happened to end up right next to each other. And I was like, kind of like, oh, this will probably be an interesting conversation. So we have a New Mutants 98 Mark Jewelers insert CGC 8.5 that sold for $723.70 versus an Incredible Hulk 180 7.0 purple label restored. I didn't read closely enough to see what the restoration was, but that sold for $861.01. So for the New Mutants 98, hold up the Flipside symbol. For the Hulk 180, hold up the Modern Playbook symbol.
Well, one second here before we jump, I want to highlight Mojo's quick question about how will the Sandman version be less comic accurate? Didn't Gaiman create the character? Only difference is that there's a black actress playing her in the Sandman Netflix series, and the character is ghost white and clearly a goth white girl in the comics. I am in all support of the casting, and I'm just saying that for the people who want their comic book accurate, or if they want to go that route, this now opens up the avenue for you to have the characters in a multiversal type of way look different and not confuse people, or not be, people be like, well, wait a minute, like, she looked like this and this, and now you're reusing her again in the same look and feel in another property. So that's what I was referring to, is that she's being black actress was cast for in the Netflix series, but the character is typically, for all intents and purposes, a white goth girl from the 90s. So there you go.
All right. Hold up your signs in 3, 2, 1. Let's go with Rob, and we haven't heard from Sean in a while. Let's go with Sean.
Yeah, I'm going Deadpool with this one. It's the rarest, and being the Mark Jewelers, being there stored in some possibly humidified military base or something like that. It's gonna be pretty tricky to get a super high grade in that. You don't see very many. I mean, that's why 9 needs $10,000 now. So it's basically going to be the rarest first appearance, unless you're going to talk the Australian one. But it's the rarest U.S. New Mutants 98. It's almost going to say, I've said it before, that he's sort of, this generation Spider-Man. That's how I used to feel before Miles was around. But at least for popularity of a new character, for the same amount of years or something like that is taking kind of just been, I'm a big fan. That's a tough book in any grade, to tell you the truth. I mean, even though there's a lot of them printed, there's the ones that haven't been graded, sustaining that black back cover in good shape without major dents or spine ticks or something like that has proved to be, pretty difficult over the years. Very similar to Spidey 300. That the back covers where it's at the front, you can look and be like, oh, that's perfect. You got, if you're going to spend the money, you got to flip it over. So I actually think 8.5 is a decent grade for that. I to be honest, I'd probably still. I know there's the price discrepancy, and I'm not exactly sure. But I'd probably even take it over the Blue Label Hulk 180, just because it's so clearly a first appearance, and he's on the cover there. So I'm going with the MJ Deadpool for sure.
Yeah, I actually had an 8.0 Mark Jewelers, and I sold that way too early. That was before I knew Tales from the Flip Side or Impressible Defects existed. Didn't know better, but I had 2 of them actually. I sold one raw. I bought it from a guy that was fresh out the military, and I sold it. I'm kicking myself now because I'm looking at it, but I did that almost 5 years ago, so I got my money from it and moved on. But It is a tough book. The Australian one, don't get me started. But yeah,
Yeah.
you want to talk rare? Let's talk that 361 Carnage, Australian.
Yeah, so like Sean, I remember Sean talking about this on his old podcast with the Unpressable Defects, and talking about how he has a 9.8 and it's the only thing in his collection that he won't sell, and talking about Mark Jewelers, and man, I was going through all my comics seeing if I had a damn insert, man. So like I was like, that was a thing. I remember when you guys first brought that up, man. I was looking everywhere for Mark Jewelers, and it was funny. Like I found some like early Iron Mans and stuff like that. But like that New Mutants '98. Good luck in finding that in the high grade, man. That is a ghost. It's already a
Mhm.
ghost, man, and
Definitely.
especially in a 9.8, bro. And I would say it's worth more than 10,000, bro. Like it's like.
Possibly by now.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like a $20,000 book at least. What's the census on it? Like 5?
Oh, yeah. Actually,
There's
I
a picture of
I don't
Sean in
know.
the census. Like, I got it.
I've seen a couple more. And to be honest, when I was moving, we were okay selling and buying this house. So when beginning of COVID, just to say everything is weird, but we already had a handshake deal to buy this second house. There were some issues going on with my wife's work, so I put some things up for sale I didn't want to sell, and I put that on eBay for 10 grand, and people said, "What's the real price?" And I said, "That's the real price." And I said, I don't have offers turned on. Like, but if you don't want it, that's fine. I'll keep it. It is the first thing I want. Like I said, it's one of the last things I would possibly get rid of just because I believe in it long term. And it didn't sell, but sure as shit when uh, you know, I don't know. We know when the market took off, and
Yeah.
I know one sold for sure 10 grand. I don't know if another has yet, but luckily, yeah. Luckily, mine's back in the safe where it belongs. Actually, it never left the safe, but still.
Yeah, the Australian edition and the Mark Jewelers are definitely not in my collection, and they're both like tough to find, or I'm not willing to spend the money that people are asking for either or copy, like whether it's raw or graded. But over the weekend when I went to Dallas Fan Expo, I actually picked up my first Mark Jewelers.
Nice.
Oh,
Very
nice.
nice.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so
Number 2.
Werewolf by Night,
All right.
number 2. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
yeah.
Nice
So I
job,
was,
man.
I was gonna say I'll throw out some cornbread for anybody who is hunting for Mark Jewelers. So a little bit of history about the Mark Jewelers, which I think again Sean mentioned on Unpressables many moons ago, but there are books that were sold on military posts, like they were sold at Air Force Base, Army Base. Army Base is going to be your best bet just because of the sheer volume of soldiers who are there, so the number of books that made it there. But what the whole Mark Jewelers thing is that there's an insert for Mark Jewelers, the company that sells basically these gaudy pieces of jewelry that they still make to this day. That actually I think they may have been absorbed by the company that makes most of the class rings for your high schools and things like that. But basically
Joustins.
they've been absorbed by Joustins. But yeah, like they're a ring manufacturer that was basically, Joes would get them when they graduated from basic training or whatever, and it would, signify like whatever branch or whichever branch of the army you were in or whatever, your unit was and things like that. And like, little stuff like that, but very similar to a graduation, high school ring type situation. So the tidbit, if you're on the lookout for these, is to look in and around the cities that surround major military posts. So your Fort Bragg, so go to Fayetteville, go out to Fort Hood, Drum, places like that, and check the surrounding cities, comic book shops there, check yard sales in those surrounding cities and things like that, because a lot of this stuff has made it elsewhere across the U.S., but there's going to be a larger concentration of them because, again, you have people who worked on the post, their kids who maybe came on the post, the kids of soldiers themselves. They would end up, selling their comics to the local comic book shop before they deployed out, things like that. So again, They have made their way all over the U.S., but you will find a higher concentration of them in and around military posts. I have, on the regular, been able to go back to North Carolina, hit up the Fayetteville and the surrounding cities around Vietnam, and found Mark Jewelers all over the place. So just a little bit of cornbread if you're out there hunting.
All right, and I just ended the poll, and over 25 votes, we had 87% choose the New Mutants 98 Mark Jewelers, and 11% chose the Hulk 180 Restored. Let's go ahead and move on to our next set of books. And we have Amazing Spider-Man 361, 62, 63, all CGC 9.8. That sold for $1,100 versus X-Men number 2, 3.5, that sold for $1,125. All right. Hold up your signs for Flipside for the 361 set, or Modern Playbook symbol for the X-Men number 2. 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's go with.
I want a piece of this.
Okay, let's go with Chris and Robert.
I'll pop it off. So I, at one point, one of the things I was putting together was an X-Men 1 through 10 run. Once I accomplished it, I sold off the 2 through 10 to buy a Amazing Fantasy 15. X-Men 2 is one of the very, very undervalued second appearances out there from the Silver Age. Again, a lot of those books are undervalued, like second appearance of Daredevil and whatnot. Really, the only one that gets love, like it honestly probably should, is Spider-Man's like second appearance and things like that. But for that reason, a lot of people are priced out of X-Men 1. Yeah, the Vanisher is a terrible character. And also very much so dead, at least in the Fox universe, because he was Brad Pitt's character that got killed in Deadpool. But generally speaking, though, this is still just a great piece of runner-up book to have if you can't get you an X-Men 1. They're going to go up in value. Again, we're not here to ruin anybody's movie watching experience or spoilers, but betting on villains might not be the smartest thing, especially over in Sony's universe. So yeah, you might be left holding the bag if you've got some Carnage books after this weekend if things go the way that they typically go with villains. So that's why I'm putting my money on the X-Men. Again, we're not banking on the Vanisher, we're banking on the X-Men, and that makes this book a smarter play in my opinion.
Yeah. I'm not really big on villains anyway, but I mean, it's 9.8. I like X-Men, always been priced out of my range. So, I mean, I grew up on X-Men and can't afford most of the Silver Age stuff anyway. So, the easier one for my wallet would probably be the Carnage. That's the only reason why. But, I mean, seeing a 3.5 sell for that much, I'm better off trying to find it raw, hopefully, and then I would buy in. But at these prices, I probably would go with the Carnage. That's the only reason why. I mean, talk about expensive second appearances, this is a second appearance.
True story.
Who said he was a villain? Carnage. Who said he was a villain? Man, he's a good guy, bro. I mean,
about that.
You're talking like 361, 2, and 3 in a 9.8. Now, you should go and get that 360. And then you'll really have a run of 9.8s.
359.
And then
344.
344, right.
Yeah.
So, and then you really have a run. But, that's a complete story right there. And it's, do I have it here? Let's see.
I mean,
I've got the out-of-print Carnage trade with all 3 of those books in it. I mean, that's a thing. Like that X-Men 2. I get it, but man, 3.5.
Hold it up again, Richard.
Huh?
Hold
I'm sorry.
book.
I mean, don't get me wrong. 3.5 is definitely low grade, and the market has definitely changed. Because just 2 years ago, I bought a 8.0 in that book for a G, and then cracked it and got a 9.2 on it. So So yeah, like I said, this 2 through 10 helped fund an AF-15. So they were like all of them were 9.0s and better.
But that Carnage book was so undervalued for so long to begin with, right?
Yeah, because let's be real about it. Like Carnage isn't that great of a character. Like y'all can like the comics can roast me all they want to, but Carnage is not that great of a character. There's a reason why. Like the first thing that when in Avengers, what was that? Avengers 7 or whatever that was when we reintroduced the Sentry. The first thing he does is rip, like, as an establishment of how strong he is, just rip Carnage in half. Because nobody gave a fuck about Carnage. And you could kill Carnage like that if you were like, oh, okay, he's strong, and I don't really care about ever seeing Carnage again in comics. And he was gone for like a couple of years after that. Like, and I get it. Like, the reason why this book got hot is because of the movie that's dropping, like, basically tomorrow. But will it be that hot come, after this weekend's passed? Like,
man, my money's on Woody Harrelson, bro. My money's on Woody Harrelson.
He's
crazy.
I don't see Carnage surviving this film. I don't see them dragging that baggage with them into, other areas. Again, we're not going to spoil stuff because we know people haven't watched. But I just don't see them dragging that Carnage baggage with them over into, future movies. You don't need Carnage. I mean, as much as we as comic book fans want to say that you need Carnage to tell the Null story, you don't. You can easily fix that to not need that character at all. I just don't see spending money on Carnage unless you plan on keeping those books. If you're trying to flip, you are buying. I mean, the movie drops tomorrow. This is the highest that these books will ever be. Like, this is the worst time to buy Carnage. Just like, again, I still see just so much more upside in the X-Men, even at 3.5.
I just see 9.8s being more liquid than a 3.5. Like, you go into a show and you got these 3 9.8s. It's a lot easier to trade that than a 3.5. You'd be like,
Somebody said I'm trying to ruin all their weekend sales. Like, I'm not trying. I'm just being real about it. Hopefully, those people don't watch this show. But then,
well, what if the movie's a hit?
Even if the movie's a hit, man.
If the movie's a hit.
If you're betting on a villain making it through a film,
Dr. Doom's your only choice to make it out of a film. That's the only
I mean, like, it surprised the shit out of all of us when Toomes survived. I mean, shit, they blew him up, and Toomes managed to survive No Way Home.
Yeah, but he's a symbiote, man. He'll be around.
I mean, he might come back, but
and to be completely transparent, like, I brought up to call Something Is Killing the Children number 8, 9.8 intentions to trade for like a Silver Age book, and one of them, well, I know, but like still, like, the book I was looking at was an X-Men number 4 2.0, and if it had just presented a tiny bit better, I probably would have like asked to trade that to call for it, just because like, I mean, there's something about X-Men Silver Age that just gets me excited to see.
I mean, like, I get it. Like, but if it was a different X-Men number instead of 2, like a 4, like X-Men 4, then yeah. But
I absolutely see your point. So, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, around that price, a 2.0 was like $1,500. Someone was asking, but I mean, like, again, to me, it didn't present as well as my X-Men number 1 2.0, so I kind of wanted something to match with that, and so to me, it was just a pass. So yeah, but let's move on. I only have 2 more sets of books.
No, keep going.
Let's see. All right, so it's funny you mentioned second appearances, right? So I have a Venom Lethal Protector number 1, Black Foil Error, that sold for that's a newsstand UPC CGC 9.4 that sold for $6,220 or $250, versus an Invincible Iron Man number 9 CGC 9.8 that sold for $5,950. There was also a Buy It Now right after this that sold for $7,500, but I couldn't verify it, so I was just like, Let me just skip that. All right. So hold up your signs for the Black Error for Flipside, or the AOA Invincible Iron Man with the Modern Playbook symbol. 3, 2, 1. All right, let's go with Joe and Chris.
You know what? I'll pop it off. So I chose the Iron Man. Again, I have a firm appreciation for your errors and things of that nature, and the newsstand, and it being one of the most rare of the errors, I think, with being the black. But if we're talking like purely from a flip perspective, like this isn't even Venom's first. Like you can go get his first appearance now. Mind you, it's not like an error and all this other crazy stuff, and not a newsstand. But you can go get you a White Pages 9.8 ASM 300 for 6,500, maybe a little bit less. If you find somebody and you got cash money and you're not doing deals on eBay, you can probably get that book for right around $6,000. And I think that makes a lot more sense on if it was that versus Invincible Iron Man number 9, this cover, then yeah, I'd say go with the ASM 300 day of the week. But like his first solo series for what was, I mean, if this wasn't all of these things, like if it wasn't the error belt, you know, in the same way that people say, you know, if my you know, my grandmother had a dick, she'd be my grandfather. But like if all these things didn't apply to this book, it's nothing special. And yeah, this Invincible Iron Man was a throwaway book that nobody wanted, but Riri's coming. This is her first full appearance. You know, argue it, debate it all you want to, but people are paying these prices. And this is not, and we haven't even, other than the casting and maybe some set photos, we haven't seen any bit of Riri whatsoever. Like she's just going to, and she's going to have that like Black Panther like machine behind her as well, delivering her to the mainstream audience. Like, yeah, you're probably gonna be able to get you like $7,000 out of this book before people finally like come to their senses. And like you're capped out on that Lethal Protector. Like I just don't see it going any higher than this. Even if you were somehow able to get Venom over in the MCU, I don't see this book being the one that's going to go up in value. ASM 300 will, and I still see more upside left for that Iron Man 9.
So, like, are these listings legit?
I mean, let me double check. But go ahead and speak on.
So,
the book
like, it's really kind of tough because you got a book that's not even a 9.8, and it's commanding 6,200. Like, and I picked it because I think it's cool and everything. But like, here's my take on Riri and that bottom book. Like, if I want Riri Williams to be on the damn cover, bro. You know what I mean? Like, I think it was me and Ninth Wonder, like we were talking about, there's not that many like really good Riri covers. I mean, and for this book to be like fetching almost $6,000, man, like, and it's debated which is her first appearance too. So like this is this is just tough. I mean, like, flippability. I don't like what, man, I don't know. This is, I mean,
even if it's $400, I can see you making another $400 out of this Iron Man 9. I don't see you finding somebody who's going to want the 9.4 of this book that badly.
Yeah, it's two different. You've got that scarce collector, right? And then you got just your main people that are going after MCU first appearance kind of thing, right?
And who's the larger audience, honestly?
Yeah.
The person who's the heir person, or the person who is the new money? I mean, this is real new money that we're talking about here, but like the new money, oh, I've got money. Like, no lie, I had a friend who reached out to me today, sold his house, sold his first like starter home, made bank, and was just like, where should I invest my money? And I was just like, if you're willing to do the research and the work, comics. If you're not, go buy art because it's easy. And yeah, with this logic, I'm like, he's the type of person who would come in here and be like, yo, what book should I buy? I'm like, well, if you can get this book under like $4,000 or in the 4 to like, 4.5 range, buy that Iron Man 9. I would never, ever recommend anybody buy that Black Boy copy unless you're getting it at probably close to half this, maybe 3/4 best case scenario, but you're going to be stuck with it. Like, you got to find somebody who wants that book. And you can find somebody you'll find somebody, if nothing else, who will trade you maybe 2 or 3 copies to get that. Like, they may not give you cash for it, but they'll trade you 2 books that you can turn into that are liquid for that 9.8 a lot quicker than you'll be able to trade out of that 9.4.
There's a lot of Venom fans, and so like, I mean, we don't know if that's on their grail, So,
all right.
I mean,
so real quick, both sales are legit. And then I misspoke earlier when I said that one sold for 7,500. That actually sold with a best offer accepted of 5,975.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but the website I use is, if anyone's curious, 130point.com. And basically, they won't list out anything that hasn't confirmed paid. So, like, there's sales on eBay I've seen that as being completed and sold, but actually the payment hadn't gone through. So this website does it somehow. I don't know how. I don't ask questions. I just do the research. All right.
I mean,
go ahead, Brock.
No, I was gonna say my take on it is that you want to really talk about covers. The foreign lens of it is that the Venom book. They have a silver one too. That's the size of it comes with a phone book, like a Yellow Pages kind of deal, and that one's rare if it's still in the package. But I mean, this is Riri on the cover. It's crazy that book's going for $6,000, but I mean, this is Riri. This is her in the suit. That's just Tony Stark in a Age of Apocalypse suit. So I mean, I get it, and people poo-pooed on it, but at least this one's Riri. I would see if this one went for $6,000, but that one, that's you might as well say this is the first Venom.
All right, let's move on to our last set of books, which I think I've used this comparison before, but I don't remember. Maybe the panel will remember, or even the audience. But we have X-Men #1, 2.5 that sold for $9,100 versus a giant size X-Men 9.0 that sold for $9,000. So the Modern Playbook symbol hold up for giant size X-Men. For X-Men #1, hold up the Flipside logo. 3, 2, 1. All right. Let's go with Rob and Joe.
I'm gonna go first. I had a giant size X-Men, and I flipped it a little bit early. I'm not going to front, but I used it for something greater, which I disclose that in other podcasts. You can go back and watch those. But a 2.5 X-Men 1, I always wanted one. That's one of those grails that you want to hold and have a chance at it versus keep seeing it in pictures and passing. But I wouldn't be mad at either one of these. But I just said the X-Men 1 was something I never held physically in my hands, so that would be the book for me to go for.
Man,
that's all I got.
That giant size X-Men in a 9.0 looks nice, and I know Colbert had like 3 9.6s, so so he's kind of desensitized from look, I called it, bro. I called it, dude. But like I have a buddy. He's got the Hispanic version of Colbert. Man, he's a baller too. He had 2 9.8s of giant size X-Men and sold them too early. Hey, AJR, what's up, man? But yeah, I mean, I can appreciate having the X-Men 1, and yeah, it's a low grade, it's a 2.5, but it's a X-Men 1. But that giant size X-Men, it's a pain in the ass to get in the high grade, man, just because of that damn spine. I've pressed them. I mean, I know I've pressed an X-Men 1. I mean, like I like my chances with an X-Men 1 over a giant size X-Men any day, man. So,
Uh,
but like,
I've heard this from other pressers. But is it true with the GSX one? The there's like glue or something like that makes it really, really hard to press.
Yep.
Yeah,
yeah,
that is true. I heard that.
So it's a square bound book. And you also have to be careful because it's square bound. So with these square bound books, these giant size books this time, they're staples. Like they were stapled from the front to the rear, and then they were wrapped and glued on the inside. So if you add too much pressure and your staple points are at the wrong spots, they'll punch through on you. So that's very, very common for you to end up seeing, and that just naturally happens just from the book rubbing, being slid around and things like that. Is that the if the staples came all the way through the book, then they'll rub through and punch holes in your book. So that's another thing you have to be careful about. So yeah, these square bound books. I mean, this is a 9.6, and by normal book standards, this still in most of the 9.6 I've seen in this book wouldn't be a 9.6 if it wasn't getting the I'm square bound favor that comes with it, because they definitely look out for these square bound books because these spines just naturally have a tendency of just squishing because they don't have the curvature of a bunch of pages to them. There's just a stack of books put on top of each other, stapled, glued, and then wrapped with the cover.
the trick with pressing those square bound books is like you don't want to use much heat at all, and you want to humidify it to where the book is pretty moist, and then you just leave it in the press for a while, and that's the only cornbread I'll give you guys.
I'll jump in here and say this. So I held up my 9.6 of this book. I would give that up in a heartbeat. 9.6 and the 9.4 could go to get another comparable graded copy of, if I could get a slightly higher than comparable grade or put a little bit more money towards it and get like maybe the next step up, I would definitely get rid of a giant size to turn it into another X-Men 1. The reason being is that the reason why I went after X-Men or giant size is because I never thought I'd be able to own an X-Men 1. Like, no matter what you think about it, like it is the runner-up book. It is here's the new X-Men. Here's this new team. And they're all characters that we all care about because if you grew up in the 90s, like, the 80s and the 90s, this team is the iconic X-Men team for all intents and purposes. There's that word again, iconic. But like this is that quintessential team that when you think the X-Men, you think this team with a couple other members kind of shoehorned in. Many of the people who were in, this group bounced around, disappeared, went and did other things, chased other women elsewhere in the form of like, Bobby and things like that. But yeah, like when the X-Men finally make their MCU debut, you need, for giant size to truly be the book, you need those members to show up. If those members show up, X-Men 1 still pops because the X-Men are here now. And that is just how that kind of works. Like, if the MCU had introduced Bucky before they introduced Cap, I still think that the moniker of Captain America showing up would still increase in value just because it's like, that's Captain America. And that's just the character who was a sidekick, which was also his first appearance as well, would be increasing in value. I think the X-Men as a moniker and what it means potential character-wise of people who could show up, yeah, those individual books will pop. If they suddenly decide not to go with Wolverine after Rip and they go with, X-23 or whatever configuration of characters as a team, I think that X-Men #1 is still going to rise with all the other books that are going to rise individually as well for those character appearances.
Yeah, I'll give you that. The brand is going to be whole.
Yeah, I just don't.
It'll still gain equity, right?
Exactly.
Well, I mean, and then to add on to that, X-Men 1 has historically been like undervalued for a very long time. I mean, I remember when it was like a grand a point, like when I was like looking into buying copies and stuff like that. And then I bought my copy. I don't want to say exactly how much, but it's a 2.0, and it was signed by Stan Lee, but it was way under $5,000. I'll say that. And then at the same time, I was looking at like Blue Labels were going around the same price, and I was debating to myself, well, which one do I buy? And then I think like a month later, like Stan Lee had passed away, so I was like, okay, well, let me just go ahead and buy the Stan Lee one, because even if I bought a Blue Label and got it signed, and was planning on getting it signed, which I wasn't going to, I was like kind of like, oh, I'll never get Stan Lee's signature on the X-Men one ever again. And then the SIG placement was good, like, because that's a big thing about X-Men ones. Like, there's some really poor spots chosen. I mean, I know it's not his fault, but like there are some very poor choices of where he signed those books.
Man, he was an old man, dude.
I'm not blaming him.
Bro.
I'm not blaming him. I'm saying
they basically were like holding his hand, like being like
picking on Stan Lee.
Sign here.
I mean, and then at the same time,
it
could also be the person that put the window sticker of where they put it. You know what I mean?
That's a good point.
Yeah, that can also play factor. But yeah, so again, my logic is that you need a very specific, like, people in the comments are right. Like, shout out to AOA with the original X-Men is men by themselves. Like, no, you're absolutely right. Like, there's a reason why that book almost got canceled. Like, them stories were not good, and that team configuration was not fun to read. Like, if you go back and read those classic X-Men stories, they are trash. The X-Men did not start getting good until Claremont and them showed up with X-Men, Giant Size. So it's got that going for it as being like one of those quintessential X-Men stories that changed the nature of comics at that time. But you have to have that team configuration show up for that book to pop. If Storm doesn't show up, if Nightcrawler doesn't show up, if Colossus doesn't show up, Giant Size will a rising tide lifts all ships, so people will be like, well, they're coming. They'll show up at some point, but it is not the same as like, these sort of kind of comic book accurate version of the original team showing up. And even then, if Giant Size ends up being the team that they go with, and they go with the new X-Men team, one's still going to increase in value. Like, you can't go wrong buying a one in whatever grade you can get. Stay away from the 0.5s maybe, but if I can get you a complete 1.8, 2.0 copy or better, I still see money being in that. The only reason why I sold my lower grade copies is because I was trying to flip them into the highest. Again, to quote, George, aka Nico, buy the best example of a book that you can get your hands on. So again, I turned a 4.5 and a 5.0 into either my other AF-15 or either my 6.5. But again, it was what made sense for me is trying to get the best example possible. But still, rising tide lifts all ships. You're not going to be wrong to have either of those books, but it's going to make a lot more sense when they finally come to screen if the team isn't the Giant Size team to have that X-Men one.
Now,
all right.
Does the movie have to be good though?
I mean, it'll be all right. It's Marvel. They don't miss. And even when they miss, they still hit close on the target. So
yeah. So does besides tomorrow night, does anyone else have anything else to promote for the rest of the week?
I am having a Whatnot sale on Saturday night. I'm showing some of the books I'll have. This is Melina. Just giving a little highlight. Just giving you guys a little sample. Dog's not for sale. See that foil? I know Red Hood wants this one.
That's mine.
Got some Japanese with the obi, the dust jacket on it.
Ooh, I might have to buy that from you.
Squirrel Girl that has the OP too. I'm gonna go ahead and have all of that in the back. It's complete.
Man,
I might throw this up. I might say, you know what? Let's roll the dice, see what happens. You see it. These are all Italian, by the way.
damn.
Michael Choward. I'm throwing that in there. 252 French Canadian. And, the most second appearance ever. There you go.
Man, I'll tell you what, the Italians know how to make a comic book, bro. I'm just telling you, we're getting shortchanged over here, bro. Man.
Just because you guys hung with us,
Oh,
I'll show this one. Fiona Staples. You see that chrome on there.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah.
Red Hood, when's your next sale?
No, I'm gonna have mine on Friday night, 8:00. I'm gonna have mystery bags. I'm gonna load them. I've already started loading a few, but there's gonna be some heat in there, man. It ain't gonna be like one or two good books. Like I'm gonna load them, so y'all get your pocketbooks ready, man.
Cool. And then I will be having a sale on Sunday. I think I'm going through part 2 of the books I'm willing to part with that I bought from Dallas Fan Expo. So it'll probably bring up some pretty big heaters, and then also, I might sprinkle in the slab or two that I got from on-site grading from CBCS, or maybe just some other CGC books that I'm willing to part with. Well, I still haven't decided. I'll probably decide on Saturday. And then, Chris, what topic are we discussing tomorrow for after the Prospect 10?
So tomorrow's conversation will be insuring your collection. So yeah, definitely. By no means are we, insurance agents. I think we actually might have somebody who does work for an insurance company on the call. We'll definitely, hopefully, have Nico to drop in to just be like the legal voice of reason and what that looks like. I'll speak to my personal experience with having a 2 big books go missing and what the insurance did to take care of me. So yeah, definitely be around 9:30 Eastern time tomorrow, and we're going to be discussing that. So yeah, if you're interested, we won't be necessarily recommending companies because we don't want to be swayed for any one group, but things to be on the lookout for, how to structure your policy if you are a dealer or you consider yourself to be a small-time dealer, little tips and tricks around it to make sure that you spend the absolute least amount to get the most amount of coverage possible.
And then before we call it a night, I just wanted to show you what the results were for our last comparison. Before I clicked in poll, it was at 50-50, but someone swayed the vote, and 52% chose X-Men #1 over Giant Size X-Men.
Probably Chris voted. Chris probably voted in there,
which I found kind of interesting. But make sure to tune in tomorrow night and catch us on the flip side. Until then, wait, it's dealer flip side. I need to say my final thoughts.
Oh yeah.
Okay. The days that you call out for sick is when fires happen, apparently. So there was a fire in my building at work, and I was just completely shocked and blown away that it happened on the day I called in sick. So make sure to choose your call in days wisely, is all I have to say.